Alright, welcome back. Let's hop straight into these charts. Let's see what we're going over. Looking at Ethereum, some ETH. Dang, it's looking good. It's looking good. Just consolidating. Again, we're looking at that RSI divergence. We're looking at that bearish divergence on a lot of these different oscillators like the MACD, market cipher. We gotta push higher to negate that idea. Right now on the 6 hour we got what's called the hammer. So I mean potentially, the price could close right here and then it would signify moving up. And this could be the end of the correction. So we got three conflicting ideas right here. So you got this bullish candlestick, uptrend. Okay, so those are two good things. So we got the uptrend, which is good. And we got this engulfing candlestick right here. You got this bullish engulfing. It's entirely engulfing this price action. Usually you want it like in the front, but it works in the back just as well. As far as like the ideas of it. So this is a positive. You got the uptrend. This is a positive. You got this giant bear or bullish candlestick. This is a positive. You got this big wick. So what are the negatives? The negatives are going to be the fact that there's divergence forming. We need to break higher. And I mean, obviously we would like to see draw one of these bad boys. Obviously we always want to see a high break right here. And let's go to a little bit of a cleaner chart, and I'll show you exactly what we're looking at on, just because this chart's a little, y'all know, this chart's a little, dang, I got all the charts drawn up. Howdy. I'm actually used to be from Texas. I feel like I brought the money to Arizona, but I used to be from Texas. I like that. Howdy. Howdy, y'all. Alright, so this is really massive. This would be, kind of like an Elliott wave formation, like what we've been talking about. So this could potentially be a corrective wave. This could be an impulse wave up on the 6 hour. So what we would do, we would go to our Fibonacci retracement. Like I said, this is going to be one of the biggest tools dealing with Ethereum. So you'd go to Fibonacci retracement. Welcome back. My favorite crypto. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot going on, but so we pump right here. Yeah. So essentially, we're just almost wicking right here, that 0.786 level. And then this is a massive area to be looking at. You see right here this is the golden pocket. Let me add some background. This is why I went to the other chart, so I could add some background and it wasn't so distracting with all those other lines. I just kind of want to isolate this idea so you guys really understand what's going on right here. So you got I'll zoom in a little bit. So again, right here's the golden pocket. Again, on TradingView, it's not golden, but like if you go on Bybit or other trading sites, it'll be golden on this pocket right here. This is the 0.786 down to the 0.618. So if I say 0.618, we're looking at this line right here, right? This line right in between the blue and the green. And so when I say it's bouncing off of the 0.618, what that means is that we went right here and we're bouncing off of this level right here and we're moving up, and that's bullish. And we called that a little bit earlier. I'm cost-based averaging into a trade. It's doing really good. And I was showing you guys the levels that we were entering in at. But essentially what you're looking at right here is, bullish, bullish, bullish. It's not three white soldiers. It's not perfect textbook, but it's not bad. Also, it's looking good. And then again, this hammer is good. The only thing that we're looking for is, so I got you that idea. So essentially we're looking for a retest of that area. I'm going to turn down the background on this, and then we're going to go over some other ideas. So we're going to go to the higher time frames. We're going to go to 12 hour. We're going to pull up MACD. We're going to get rid of our favorite guy right here, market cipher, for a second. We're going to pull up the MACD. Boom. Okay, we got MACD. Alrighty. And I can just tell by looking at it, it doesn't look like on the 12 hour there's any divergences that I can see right here on the 12 hour, which is good. Alright, let's go to 6 hour. The only problem with, Ethereum right now is essentially if we continue to consolidate at these levels, we could get I see right here you have a very clear divergence. I'm going to draw it out for you guys, so don't worry about it. So you have this right here, trend line. Nobody really trades off the 7, nobody really trades off the 8, nobody really trades off. So it's going to be a while until it hits. We'll do right here, that's fine. And then we want to put that right here. Perfect. Okay, so that's 1. And then this is 2. It looks like we're starting to negate that idea. Let's see right here. Yeah, it looks like we're starting to negate that idea, but we gotta see a lot more pressure. So essentially right here what you have is you start right here. Oh, you start right here. If we want to do that one specifically, which is fine. So you'd start right here where we drew the first one. See how they line up horizontally? Right here's the start on my MACD, which is my oscillator. And then if you move this up, it's perfectly in line. This y-axis line is perfectly in line with my price action, PA. So if you start to follow, the price action, which is what I have circled right here, is moving up. It's trending up, as the oscillator, which is the MACD, is trending downwards. So what that is it's called divergence. And so essentially they're not corresponding with each other. They're not correlated. They're diverging against each other. And that's basically bearish, showing that on the MACD we're losing this trend even though we're continuing going higher. It's basically showing that the momentum isn't as strong for our trend, which is not optimal. Are we still in an uptrend? Yeah, technical analysis says that we're still in an uptrend. But when we use this oscillator right here and relate it to, this high right here and then this higher high, basically it's just showing that the momentum of the market is not as strong right now, which is concerning because potentially that means that this level right here is in play still. Now if we get something like we're looking on the 12 hour, I didn't see it on the 12 hour, but if this continues, at this point we can consolidate right here, break out of this, break this all-time high, and continue up. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but if we continue to consolidate and we potentially hit divergence on the 12 hour, which I'm going to keep you guys updated on, then potentially we could be looking at levels like this to start out with, and then cost base averaging into that position, that long position on low leverage. Charts aren't looking phenomenal right now as far as that goes, but we still got our positions open. Alright. I noticed buying volume is weak. Surprised ETH hasn't gotten this high on low volume. I'm surprised ETH has gotten this high on low volume. It wouldn't take much for a dump. Well, so I've been seeing a lot of strong buying pressure. So we got this wick right here, and it kept wicking, and this was a little bit ago, and it just keep constantly finds support. There's a lot of buying pressure on ETH. So even though the volume is low, there's a lot of demand for it. A lot of people are very bullish on ETH. And what I do personally, and I know a lot of people that are really experienced in these markets are going to be doing exactly what I'm doing. I take profits from, I might take some profits from, I hold the LRC and it pumped 30% this morning. But what I'll do is I'll take my profits off of my altcoins and I'll put it over into Ethereum. And I use a bunch of different exchanges, but one of the exchanges I use is Coinbase. And the reason I like Coinbase, there's pros and cons to all the exchanges. Their business is just like anything else. And so there's pros and cons to all of them. And one of the pros of Coinbase is it hardly costs anything to convert a lot of my, like LRC, for example. Like I said in previous videos, my compound's been doing very well. But regardless, whatever my smaller cap tokens are, I'm converting them over into Ethereum, not only because I like the potential of Ethereum all the way up to 2K, but then on top of that, it also deleverages my risk. So I'm, scaling out of a lot of these coins that are a little bit higher risk. The potential is not as high for these to maintain their pumps. And essentially, I'm going to like exacerbate that process as we potentially find a bottom for altcoin season. But it doesn't look like altcoin season is stopping anytime soon. So, and every time I say something like that, you got to take it with relevancy. Like we'll let you know like when altcoin season is in jeopardy. But right now it's looking good. So essentially what I'm doing is like I'll take like half of my compound. If I make 100% ROI on compound, I'll take half of it, put it into ETH. At these potential levels, because all it has to do is volume has to come back, hit this new all-time high, and we're going to destroy this divergence idea and negate that idea entirely. And, really we're just consolidating right now, looking for entry prices. Everybody knows over the long term or over the, over the next, week to 2 weeks, ETH is going to be doing fairly well. We're looking at that $2,000 price target. So, essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing that. And then once we find the potential bottom for altcoin season, I'm going to be taking, the rest of my compound, the rest of all that other stuff, and potentially converting it into Ethereum or Cardano, just depending on what their charts look like. And so, but I know a lot of people are doing this. I know a lot of people are taking their gains that they're getting. They're getting massive gains into some of these coins. Now, some people are a little bit more risky than I am. So what they'll actually do is they'll take their gains off a compound and then they'll move them into something smaller cap. And potentially, they're like, well, I've just made 100% ROI on, compound, so I can take, half of it, and that would be my initial capital, and put it into the smaller cap, and essentially it's zero risk because I'm trading specifically off my gains. There's no problem with that strategy. I just, like for me, I'm not necessarily trying to like build as much as I am trying to like just get the highest ROIs with the least amount of risk, because I'm using a lot more capital. But regardless, either way, you still want to take a look at these charts because they're going to be massively important. And over the long run, like, people are going to want to put their money into, oh, wow, nice. It's crazy. So yeah, we called this breakout right here. This was an obvious breakout on Cardano. Right here, we've been calling the price action for a long time now, but broke this, it looks like it broke this. What's kind of sad, it just looks like there's a lot of momentum. So essentially what we would do on Cardano, it's just so sad on this channel. We talk about Cardano, we say we love Cardano, all that stuff, and then it's just going up so quickly. Like, I want to accumulate more of it at lower levels. So you could potentially do this level right here. Or potentially going off of Elliott wave, you could potentially do this one right here. And this is more so a Fibonacci cluster idea. And really to cluster it up, we could do this. And so this is an actual type of technical analysis called Fibonacci retracement clusters, where you constantly measure the most probable areas where people are going to be using Fibonacci retracement, and then you see where most of the lines intersect. It doesn't look like we've hit any like major areas yet. And then the most areas where these lines intersect would be a potential good spot where you might find support or resistance. So these are called Fibonacci clusters. Let's see. I'm not really seeing anything. Maybe like right here, maybe approximately. I'm not really seeing anything that's catching my attention. You have this 618 level right here, which is huge. Looks like it broke this. Looks like it broke this. Where's the next 618? Next 618's right here. So I would just go off of this one. So I would delete these. Oh crap, that was the 618. So confusing, there's so many of them. Or potentially, yeah, this one right here. We could potentially pull back to this 618 right here. That would be good. Potentially. It's just looking very bullish. RSI is on fire on the 6 hour at 80, a little overbought. But yeah, Cardano. What I would like to see, there's a few things I would like to see. Obviously, if we could retrace to this area right here, that would be gorgeous. Potential buying opportunity, potentially. The other thing would be, where's this drawn to? This is a very conservative target. Yeah, this is a very conservative target. So that would be gorgeous if it hit this area, if it bounced right here and then found support on that golden pocket. The other thing that I would like to see is if it moves up, for it to bounce off of this, what is this formation? We drew this a little bit ago. Some kind of rising consolidation pattern. I can't even remember what it was. But it looks like it found resistance at this level, consolidated, and it looks like it's moving higher. Looks really healthy. I would like to see it either hit this level, find support, move higher, or potentially hit this area, like break out of this area again, come down, find support on this trend line that it's obviously respected right here, and hit it as a resistance, flip support idea for a confirmation that we're moving higher. Two ideas we're looking at. Again, I told you guys to get in essentially like right here, but you know, if you're looking in for like a different entry point, then that would be relatively decent. Like I said, I'm literally so sad about Cardano because it's just, we talk so much like about how good it is, and you know, I even called out crypto love earlier, and I was very upset that he was saying that it was not an oscillator, and like not giving any background or context, like talking crap about Cardano. That was just completely inappropriate, and he knows better. So that was ridiculous. And of course, you know, I make that video, and I made one last night, it just didn't get aired, which is probably better because I was heated. Because that was just ridiculous that he was going to FUD the price of Cardano. He was saying stuff like, oh, Cardano's like, you know, not guaranteed, and like there's not a lot of whatever. He knew exactly what he was doing. He holds Cardano too, so that was just ridiculous. So anyways, I had to come on here and tell you guys, like, this old man's off his rocker. I don't know what his problem is, but that was ridiculous what he said. about trying to FUD the price of Cardano. Obviously, we've been talking mad bullish about Cardano because it's one of the best altcoins in the entire space. Alright, so Ethereum doesn't look like it's going to hit anything anytime soon on those major fib levels that we drew on the daily. Let's go to Link. And then of course, as I'm like telling everybody, like, crypto loves off his rocker, we just keep pumping more and more and more. And he says over the long term, like as if Cardano's not going to just absolutely obliterate over the long term. That was just ridiculous. Okay, so this is exactly what we were looking for. Super bullish right here. So we actually, I was talking about this before, and I said I want to see what happens with Link. I want to see if it breaks through this area. It ended up breaking through this area, coming down, finding support on this area. I'm sure so many people got liquidated here. I'm sure so many people got liquidated here. It finds support, bounces up, and then we start coming down. And then essentially you would think that it would retest this area again and then move higher. It broke the area. So this is what I talk about a lot, is this is how you wouldn't get wrecked. You can't be opinionated in trading. You can't be, notice that I always say we need to look for this area, make sure it touches support and bounce higher. Okay? You can't just look at a consolidation pattern like this and put down, oh, well, the bottom of this is 26 cents, 26.0 or 26.03 cents. I'm going to put a limit order there. The reason I always say you can't do that is because what happens if it ends up breaking this support, which it clearly did, and then it found support down here? People that are putting stop losses right here, putting limit orders right here, on high margin, they're going to get wrecked. And the only thing that saved them was the fact that, it caught this moving average right here. The only thing that really saved them was the fact that Link is so bullish. But essentially we close right here, we move higher, we break above this area. Again, what I want to see is I want to see the price action come down, test this area, and not break through it. Because if it breaks through it, that doesn't mean put a limit order. Make sure that it bounces at this area, and then that's a confirmation that it's going to move higher. Essentially, like, that's the best we can do in technical analysis. It's not, a complete science, but especially with Chainlink's bullish momentum, that should play out. But we got to make sure we're looking at the charts and doing what the charts say, not necessarily our emotions. Because a lot of people, I think, were thinking, oh, well, it's just gonna, no matter what, hold that wedge formation, and you just can't think that way. You can't be entitled, and you can't be opinionated. You got to read the charts. And that's what, like, we've had a massive amount of success on this channel calling price action above everybody else. And a lot of that just comes down to we're reading the charts. So it looks like it found support at this moving average right here. Moves higher. Looking good. I told you guys DOT was looking good. It looks like it's about to break its all-time high. Yeah, it's looking good. It constantly finds support at these moving averages. Specifically this one right here. You can see right here, find support, find support, find support. So this was actually, I drew this was a Fibonacci retracement. So this is a support flipped resistance idea right here. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, right here. So right here, this is the all-time high, right? And then the price action, it's resistance, consolidation, consolidation, comes back on it, support, bounces higher. All-time high, resistance, resistance, price action can't break above it. Consolidation, forms into this golden pocket that we were talking about for the longest time on this channel. Breaks through it, huge momentum. Comes down, tests the price, support. Tests the price, support. Moves higher, consolidates, moves down. Finds support at this moving average right here. Moving average, moving average, moving average. All find support on this level right here. And then essentially, it's just, everybody knows how bullish DOT is. Everybody knows how good DOT is on the fundamentals. We still got to look at the charts. On the 6 hour, it looks like you have some bearish divergence. Yeah, I can draw it. I'll just draw it just so if there's anybody a little bit newer and they can't just look at a chart and see it, then, because I want to make this content for everybody. So essentially you have this right here, then you have this right here. So that's obviously trending up, or at least this is a high and this is a higher high. Then if we go to our MACD, our oscillator, and then we put this one right here, you got to line it up perfectly. You can't just pick a random spot in the chart. It has to line up perfectly. The y-axis has to line up perfectly with, you know, the price action trending up, and then on that same price action right here. So I'll show you guys how a lot of people mess up when they're noobs. There's nothing wrong with being a noob. There's nothing wrong with being a noob, but so essentially you have your oscillator right here, which is your MACD trending down. You have your price action PA, which is moving up. See that? You see how as my cursor is moving, it's not only covering the price action, it's also covering the oscillator. So what you don't want to do, this is what you don't want to do, is you don't want to put your price action right here, potentially like a random spot right here, and say, okay, well, this is a high, and then this is a higher high, and this is diverging because this is a higher high and this is a lower high. It doesn't work like that because, again, the y-axis cursor is not lined up. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Or what you would do, if you wanted to look at this segment right here, what you would have to do is you would have to go to your price action, which you started right here, and you'd have to go to the top, because you're looking at the top of it. So you'd have to look at the top of your oscillator on top of it. So you go from right there and then all the way right here. See how they line up perfectly? And these are not diverging. So this is not a bearish divergence, because they both are correlated. They're both going the same way. So I know I have a lot of new traders in the channel, so I just want you guys to understand that. I don't want you guys to see what I'm doing, know that I'm right, and then try and copy it and get wrecked, because I would feel bad. Your thoughts on band protocol? Band protocol is solid. I can look at the charts. I'm in a lot of really advanced groups for crypto where it's like invite only. And a lot of times, you know, it's like with band, it's like, or just like any of these more, you know, like these type of tokens. I like to look at the charts. Like, we all know the fundamentals, and fundamentals are great, but in a lot of these more advanced trading groups, like where people are trading massive amounts of money, like hundreds of thousands, like a lot of them are like, don't fall in love with your tokens. You know, let's just look at the charts. Although I'm in love with Cardano, so I don't know how I feel about that advice. Cardano's it. All right, so let's see what we're looking at. We're just looking at some consolidation. It looks like you do have, you know, that MACD divergence. You know, I can draw it, but I think you guys should be able to see it from this point. Essentially, you have a high and then a higher high, and then you have a high and a lower high. And this always just happens, and this is always just something as you consolidate for a certain amount of time in here. RSI is cooling off. It could bounce at like the 50 level potentially. So, and you know, that would be an idea right here. So essentially what we could do, let's draw one of these. And like these fractal ideas on oscillators, it's more advanced, but it definitely works. And only some of the best traders will use technical analysis on oscillators. Yeah, that looks really good. That looks really good. So potentially you have resistance, 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 breaks through. You know, it's kind of random. And then right here you have this support, bounces off. Potentially RSI, this is why I drew this right here. We could be looking at this, you know, come down, looking at this level right here as potential support, and then bounce off of that. That's an idea. It looks like it's finding some decent support at this level right here. I can't see any consolidation patterns. It looks like there's a double bottom potentially playing out right here that I can show you. But it looks like it doesn't have the bullish momentum to play it out. Again, I'm going to show you. We're not just going to talk. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So essentially right here you have your first bottom, your second bottom, and then we're going to use a different tool right here, and then make the line a little bit thicker. And so it looks like you have this double bottom and this massively bullish candlestick right here that breaks through this potential double bottom. So potentially this is the first bottom, second bottom, I drew it for you, and then the pink line is the neckline. So first bottom, second bottom, breaks the neckline and just doesn't have the momentum essentially. I think what a lot of traders were looking at essentially on this idea is potentially, you come up, you find support potentially at that neckline again, but price action, I will make this a little bit smaller. Do that. That's fine. Let's see. Did it perfectly do it? Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh well, let's make it a little bit smaller just to make sure. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, it did. So essentially this is, this is a support line, that's fine. But this would be the neckline right here. So essentially I'm sure people were looking at this like, oh, it's going to bounce at the neckline and then continue higher. And then what ended up happening is that it ended up breaking all the way down into this, resistance that they were thinking was going to flip support. Price action comes back up, and then it's just, there's not a lot of buying pressure is what I'm trying to say here. It's a failed double bottom, which could have been a bullish pattern, and it should have broken out bullish. Maybe, let's take a look at the RSI. Yeah, the RSI was good. It was cleared to pump higher. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't even really divergence on the RSI at that time. Just looking at it, it doesn't look like, So, I mean, there's just not, like, it's consolidating right now, it looks like. And it's just not got that buying pressure right now that to complete this pattern right here. This looks like a failed pattern because essentially you have this area right here, and then essentially it breaks this neckline entirely, collapses in on the pattern, essentially invalidating it. And then when you get rid of that idea, the reason I bring that up is because all that really shows is that there's not a lot of buying momentum on this specific protocol. And then you look at this area right here. There is a low, higher low, higher low. So it is in an uptrend still, and it looks like it's finding decent support. The only thing that I'm saying is that, it's just not like entirely bullish, and this is like a doji right there. So it just kind of shows consolidation, probably consolidating up like everything else. Hi, what about BTC? Yeah, BTC. I got a few charts we can look at on BTC. I got a bunch of different ideas. Alrighty. BTC kind of in the same boat, consolidating for sure. It's got a nice hammer formation right here on the 6 hour. I think we were talking about that earlier. It'll be interesting to see if there's a close on it. So we'll go Fibonacci retracement. This is a lot more advanced. I was going to say a little more advanced, but this is a lot more advanced. But essentially what you would do is you measure right here, measure this one right here, zoom in. Yeah, it's looking bullish on this hammer. This is more so up. If this was like 50% down, then it would start to like have those same principles of like a bearish engulfing, but it's not even close to that, so it's looking good. Again, you're gonna have that MACD, same thing, bearish divergence on the MACD on the 6 hour. Ethereum and Bitcoin are very highly correlated, so it looks like it's going to be the same thing, bearish divergence on the 6 hour, and then essentially not on the 12 hour, and the 12 hours is what we're going to be looking at. So if we continue to see consolidation, we could see MACD bearish divergence on Bitcoin, which would not be good. We're not there yet. I'll keep you guys updated. It looks like it found support on this line right here. But essentially you have this idea, very bullish, hits this, which is essentially, at this time it was a shooting star, a little bit, not perfect, but a little bit. And then you have this hammer idea. So it's basically just consolidating. And I mean, this thing, like if you combine these two candlesticks right here, what is it? It's a doji essentially. You come up, find resistance, come down, find support. So, it's clearly just consolidating. It's almost like a fractal idea. It comes down, comes up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very clearly consolidating. This is what we were talking about would happen. Essentially, to get some kind of explosion in price, we would want to break this high right here around 3,800 or 38,881 approximately, 38,895 essentially. Once we break that higher high, or once we break that the highest high right here, potentially we could see some movement. But you guys have to, it's not like I just show you a bunch of stuff. Like the reason I go over Bitcoin dominance so much, no matter what you're doing in cryptocurrency, is you guys got to understand the environment that you're in. And in cryptocurrency, a lot of the money is flowing into these altcoins, and so obviously Bitcoin, unless the overall cryptocurrency market cap is going to increase, we're not going to see altcoins, or we're not going to see Bitcoin move as much, because a lot of the money is moving into altcoins. Now, this isn't necessarily bad for Bitcoin. Potentially we could see, like I said, bearish divergence on the 12 hour, but there's so much bullish momentum that we could quickly get a wick after a correction, like something like that. Let's take a look at another Bitcoin chart. So that one was, what chart are we on right now? Perpetual contracts. That should be Bybit. So then let's go to Coinbase. Okay. So yeah, we have some trend line ideas, potentially. It looks like it hit this measured move almost precisely at that fib level, nearly. Fib extension, but essentially what we're looking at right here is there's a major trend line right here that we're looking at, but it's not hit it yet. So let's get that perfect. Let's see, so like right here. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see how Bitcoin interacts, at 39,521. Essentially, the idea that's most probable that I'm looking at is essentially Bitcoin and Ethereum are highly correlated, and as Ethereum continues to pump, Bitcoin should also pump with it, and then it will be interesting to see how Bitcoin interacts with this potential level. Now, the selling pressure essentially could Bitcoin consolidate and potentially move higher and be looking at support areas. It's possible, but the trend right now, And a lot of the reasons we drew things like this was to see, what the trend was like, and the trend is definitely up, which was what I was talking about earlier, and it's clearly illustrated right here. Green, 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 green by market cipher. I'm sure if you go on to the higher time frames, it's going to show, the uptrend, but we don't need market cipher to tell us. We already know that this is clearly Bitcoin being in an uptrend. And so one of the big things I'm going to be looking at, and I want to go on to a different chart to keep an eye on this, but essentially we know we're in an uptrend, so we want to know like what are the potential levels of this uptrend. Now let me explain. Let me get a cleaner chart. Does Bitmax have a lot of liquidity? Okay, let's see. So essentially let's put this up like this. We would put this right here, fib channel. Bring this right here. Measure this uptrend. Definitely very clear uptrend right here. That's fine. We can measure it, right here. And we'll take that. And we'll measure it like this. Like, where is it? Yeah, there we go. And then it's flipped, so we gotta flip it the other way around. I mean, you could draw a channel, but if you draw a channel, just a plain channel, it's not going to give you as much information. So there's really no point to drawing a channel, in my opinion. So let's see, essentially like right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. From that idea, it looks like we're broken out. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably perfect. There's so many bright colors, it's even confusing me. Alright, let's see. So essentially what you want to do with these channels is you want to line them up perfectly. Let's see, essentially like right here. You want to give them multiple different touch points, but, well, there's two ways of doing it. You can give them multiple different touch points, or you can just do that most outer bands. It looks pretty decent, like right here. And then this one would move down slightly, like this. That's not perfect. Well, I mean, it is on one level, so that's fine. And essentially, like right here. And then we'll bring the colors back. And so this gives us a really good idea. It looks like we just broke out of the golden pocket of this fib zone right here. And then potentially it looks like we found support and we're coming back into it. So it looks good. Yeah, this is probably as, I don't want to say next to perfect, but this is probably exactly what we need to be seeing, especially on the 6 hour. This is going to have quite a bit of significance. Yeah, so this is something that we would be looking at on Bitcoin, essentially an idea. see how it interacts with these different fib levels. Like essentially we could come up to this level right here, get rejected, consolidate, ride this band up essentially. We shall see. But that's definitely an idea that needs to be looked at when we're obviously clearly in an uptrend. I think we did the same thing on Ethereum on one of their charts. Let's see. So that's the fib one. Kraken. Oh, they're both Kraken. Okay. Coinbase. Did we seriously not draw anything on Coinbase? Or maybe I deleted it. Yeah, it looks like I deleted a lot of stuff. It's crazy. Alright, yeah, so we can draw an uptrend on this one too. So essentially what we're going to be doing on this one is we want to find as many touch points. I'm going to draw the lines and make them fatter. Okay, so draw the lines. Oh, that's a little too fat to line them up. Probably something like this. Take the background out and we're going to make it white so it's really easy to draw with. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is using this white line essentially as a trend line, because really that's what it is essentially. And we want to draw this first wick right here, and we want to line it up with as many touch points as we can. So essentially like right here is next to perfect. Yeah, gorgeous. Alright, so we got that for first part drawn right there. And then I gotta make these wicks, or these candles. Alright, so we're gonna turn this, we're gonna put this back to gray. And then we're gonna make this smaller so we can draw a little bit easier. We're gonna zoom in more. Wow, look how perfect that lines up. That's gorgeous. Let's see, do I need to do anything else? Oh, that gray line's definitely out of whack. Okay, so, oh my gosh, look at that touch point right there. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, look how perfect that is. You know, people say, you know, like trading this and trading's like mathematics. When you're doing it right, you know you're doing it right. And everything just adds up, and it is very fun. But you have to be like almost like a genius to figure these things out. So I mean, sub to the channel, because we got this thing figured out. But yeah, this is essentially what we're looking at right now. This is, and then what we're gonna do is you take this, because you got to use like the right tools at the right time. Trading is very, it's a lot of fun if you're smart, because you can start to figure things out. But look how perfect that is, right in the fib level right here. Perfect. And then essentially we hit this fib level right here, get rejected, come back down, touch this outer fib, and it looks like it bounces back. It looks really good. And then, you know, the uptrend kind of rides this this level, the 0.2, the 0.22618 level essentially. So essentially, that's what we're looking at on Ethereum. Coinbase looks really good, and then of course that's in the immediate short term. Really, what we're looking at. I think that's gorgeous. But yeah, like I said, like you can't just pull this fib channel just out randomly. It's a tool, and right now is definitely the right time to be using it. Let me see if you guys have any questions. I think it wants to go. It could for sure. It doesn't look like it on the charts. Let's see. Let's go down to the lower time frames. I can't just tell you guys something like I think, because that would just be like inappropriate. Like on this channel, we always look at the graph. And like just right now on the graph, we're clearly trending down on volume. So here's an idea. Here's like, to your point, check this out. So right here, like I said, if you're really advanced in trading, you use the oscillators like volume to draw consolidation patterns. And essentially, this is, I'm not going to get more advanced than this because this is plenty fine. Okay, so essentially we're in a downtrend right here on volume. If we can come up and break this downtrend on volume, potentially break this downtrend, we could go up all the way to right here potentially, and that would play to the idea of it wanting to pump. So you clearly have your 3 touch points, and yes, it is a very advanced trading, but you can draw trend lines on the oscillators. It does work that way. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much. Let's go over a market cipher and just see what we're looking at. Just we got already all the divergence ideas. MACD, I guess MACD is probably fine. Volume, we'll keep volume open. Since we're at these lower levels, I will turn on VPR just until we break all-time highs. Then we'll switch to some other charts that we already have drawn out for some potential resistance areas. So, and because we're testing a lot of these, I'll turn on the EMA, which is cute, along with market cipher A, and then support resistance ideas, that's fine. Yeah, so this looks really good right here. I agree. So, could be huge. So I think we're going to break this level all the way down. Jeez, I hope so. So, like I said, like, we already know that Ethereum's good. We already know that Cardano is good. Like, if we can get it at lower prices, that would be awesome. Bitcoin, BTC to get above 38 and hang out there. Hee hee. Let's see. Let me just pull up market cipher and then and then we'll head over to Bitcoin. Let's see. If you guys have a favorite of one of the charts that I draw, like whether it's the Coinbase one or whether it's the Bybit one or whatever, just let me know, and I'll pull it up from there. So 38,895. Let's see. So if it hits this level right here, I don't know if that's specifically the area that you're looking at, but if it hits 38,891 or 38,895, if it hits that area, then it's going to be breaking an all-time high, and it doesn't matter if it just wicks above it, whatever, or not an all-time high, a local high. So that would be extremely bullish. So it looks like it could be potentially forming a consolidation pattern. Let's take a look at that idea. If you're talking about holding an area so that potentially the bearish divergences don't end up playing out, let's see what we got. We'll go candle wicks first. Oh, is this gorgeous? Is this gorgy on the 1 hour? Looks potentially like a perfect consolidation right here. See, we're going to zoom in. Take this level right here. Gorgeous. You know what we say on this channel, straight gorgy. Like I said, trading's like mathematics. Once everything lines up, it's just really fun. Let's see. It's not perfect. Full disclaimer. You have your 1. Oh, yeah, it is. You have this one right here. Okay, perfect. So we got our downtrend, or uptrend essentially, figured out. Beauty. Alright, now give me a second to look at the charts to really figure out, what the other type of this consolidation would be. Because we got this part figured out, but this could be so many different things. I think I like the idea that it's most likely going to be a parallel channel, ascending channel. But I'm still thinking. Because it's not like you can just look at the charts and like you have to like figure out what would be the best consolidation pattern for us to trade. Let's see. This could be a megaphone right here if you price that out and then price this out, but it's kind of not what I'm looking for. Not what I'm looking at. Let's see. I do like this idea of a descending or an ascending triangle. Does this perfectly touch right here? Nearly perfectly. I do like that idea. I am going to plot that on the line. So you go to horizontal line, and then essentially it would just be this point right there, yeah. And then if you do extend this level right here, you gotta do it perfectly though. You can't just draw random triangles, that's not how TA works. Alright, there we go. So essentially you have this triangle right here, and you have this triangle right here. Now this triangle right here is definitely in play. We have our 3 touch lines, and this is definitely a major key level right here. Let's take a measured move. Essentially this right here. Bring it over to our breakout area, which is on the 1 hour. Most likely gonna be like probably right here. Oh, it doesn't matter because this is I'm so used to drawing different types of. We've just been getting a lot of ascending and descending triangles. Usually we have more symmetrical triangles. Alright, so 40, what is this? 41,844. Now this hasn't broken up out, or like it hasn't broken down or up. So like I'm not telling people to trade this. Like I feel like a lot of people watch YouTubers on like technical analysis, and they're like, oh, it's in this consolidation pattern. It's just gonna magically break out this way, and then it's just gonna magically pump up to this level. We don't, guys. Wait for the breakout one way or the other, and make sure that you're trading this pattern correctly. So the correct way to trade this pattern would be like this. going off of the idea that potentially we break this level right here, you would take this, where is it? You would take this long position right here. You would take this right here. Draw it a little bit different. You draw this right here. You would take this right here. Boom. Boom. Well, if it broke out right here, then it would be right about there. Yeah, that's perfect. Boom. I don't even like this. This is a 2-to-1. It's a little bit more than a 2-to-1, but I don't even like this trade. But essentially what you would do if you were textbook pattern trading this is you would put your entry price potentially on the breakout is technically how you could do it. And then you would put your stop loss below this area right here. Now don't go ahead and do this. I'm not telling anybody, like, we don't know which way the pattern is going to break out. I mean, it's most likely going to break up, but don't, you always want to trade something when it breaks out. So potentially when it breaks out, you could trade it going up. And potentially you would enter right here. You would put your stop loss. You make this smaller. You'd put your stop loss right below your ascending triangle. So if it breaks it, then essentially you just get stopped out. And you know your target would be a little bit better of a 3-to-1. Now that's if it breaks out over here, you have a 3-to-1. If it breaks out, you know, like around this area, and you put your stop loss right here, it's you know, you see what I'm saying. Like if it breaks out like right here, then you have to put your stop loss right here. And then essentially as it pumps out, your risk to reward ratio is not going to be as good. If it comes all the way over here, and potentially you put your stop loss at this level right here, which would be right here, you're essentially risking 1% to make potentially 7.62, and that's a better risk to reward ratio. Now let's take a look at, that's just an idea, guys. Just don't think that that's not just an idea. But then that idea would also, if this did break out bullish, that would put us above this high right here. So like it says right here, this is a higher high, and this is a higher high than this high. So potentially playing off of this ascending triangle idea, if we were to move higher, we would essentially break this higher high. And essentially we would be in a giant double bottom formation just waiting to break this high right here. So if it did play out, it could potentially get really spicy really quickly, because you would essentially be setting yourself up in a really good position. The only thing that I would say is that you just got to be careful about, you'd want to watch BTC.D, Bitcoin Dominance, to make sure that Bitcoin has enough juice to keep pushing through those levels, if that makes sense. So that would almost break our all-time high right here. And I would be taking massive profits right here, because worst case scenario, and this is definitely something that you'd have to keep an eye out for, is potentially if we hit this level right here and then get rejected off of it because this pattern ends up playing out. If we have this higher high right here and we get rejected from testing that all-time high, like if we bounce up to this level but we don't break this all-time high and we get sharply rejected because the price action pumps and it's overextended, that's most likely not going to happen with altcoin season. But if that was potentially to be the case, then a hard rejection like that could make it to the point where we come down and test some of these trend lines potentially and fall into, like another pattern potentially. Rejections on some of these bigger rejections of a new all-time high can be very steep. Potentially. I don't think it's going to happen though, just because of, I don't think, usually for the rejections to be steep and for a rejection to like break the price action down a lot lower, essentially what you're going to be looking at is an overextension already on the RSI and a massive pump. And that massive pump is basically going to, because it's so overextended, the second that that bullish momentum runs out and everybody's getting out of their long positions, at the second that, the price starts dropping, it just tanks. And when it tanks, longing ETH, do you see a safe stop loss? Let's check her out. But yeah, those are some ideas that we're looking at. Yeah, I'm longing ETH also, my friend, but I'm on very low leverage and I'm still cost-based averaging in. If I, miss the boat or whatever, it happens. It's whatever. We started right here and it looks like we're doing good. This was like a fib retracement area. Let me go to a cleaner chart. Okay, so what is this? Kraken? So let's go Coinbase. Coinbase has this one. I do like this idea a lot. Straight gorgy. Now it is really distracting putting up all of these, so take out this, take out market cipher, take out the EMA. Let's take a look at Ethereum. It looks cute. Like, it looks decent right now. What's your leverage that you're using? Let's see. And then, what I like to say is I always like to, I usually don't do all or nothing trades. Like, mathematically, statistically, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So if I'm going to be scaling out of a position, a lot of times if the trade starts going south, I'll take 10% out, 20% out, 30% out potentially. And I've never lost money on a trade before. So usually I'll scale out in profits. But if you're doing that stop loss idea, essentially, instead of pulling out all at one area, this looks like a good area right here. If it was to break this support level, this is a relatively massive support level. So, I mean, you just kind of got to evaluate the charts yourself and look at, and this is exactly what I would do if I was in a riskier position. I would essentially look at this and say, how significant is this? And really it comes down to what kind of leverage you're on. If you're on if you're on 20x and potentially it breaks this level right here, this would essentially be I would probably take some off the table potentially, because this would be a negative it would just be negative for it to break this support right here, because it's clearly resistance, flip support. So, I mean, that would be a level I'd be looking at, and it would be breaking out of this Fibonacci channel, which is huge. I wouldn't close my entire trade necessarily. Like I said, I cost-based average out, and I won't go above 4x. Then adding on, you're on 4x, so you'd have to get a 20% move to get liquidated. That's pretty solid. What is your what's your entry price? I won't go above 4x, but adding on. So yeah, what's your entry price? Let's see. Um, what's another? So we got Coinbase, Kraken. Let's go to Bybit. Alrighty. In this, we were looking at those divergences. It looks like right here you have this Bollinger Band rejection idea. It looks like a possible idea right here where you could potentially have this simple moving average, because when you have the Bollinger Bands, the middle line is a simple moving average, and it looks like potentially we could find support at this simple moving average, and it looks like, if you go off of fractal ideas, it looks like in fractal ideas that potentially, you have this area right here, and as soon as it breaks below it, it's that bearish idea. As soon as it breaks above it, it's that bearish idea. As soon as it breaks below it, it's that bearish idea. As soon as it breaks above it, it's that bullish idea. So potentially, just looking at fractal ideas on the SMA, essentially, if it breaks below this level, if it doesn't find support at this level, maybe you take a little bit off the table. Now, I mean, if I'm only risking 20x, or if I have, I can't really not recommend that you use stop losses, because technically you're supposed to use stop losses and, keep, stop losses relative to whatever your trading plan is. But again, I want to know what your entry price is, because like that's major. Like, did you get in on the breakout? Did you just hop in? I mean, potentially, unless we break through this level right here that we have, right here is, an Elliott wave idea. So potentially you have this entire impulse wave up. And so unless we break through this idea, like we could come all the way down to this level right here, bounce off of it, and still be entirely bullish. That's on the Elliott wave idea. If you just look at traditional Fibonacci right here, you have the swing high, and then the swing low for this idea would be approximately right here. And then right here would be the swing high. And so potentially we could come all the way down to this level right here, and you see that, this is potentially, one of those ideas of right here you have the support, comes down, potential support again. This Fibonacci retracement area is well supported. So, I mean, unless we come down below these lines, and like I was saying before, and I've been talking about this a lot, like I would love to see 1581. I don't think it's going to happen unless there's some more major bearish divergences. In which case that, this would be a relatively decent entry price for myself to get involved with. I haven't even used I've used a remotely small amount of my buying power, so cost-based averaging into something like that would be effortless on my part. But potentially how extended you are, and like I always say, it's not like there was never I would have to see your price average, like what you got in at, but there was not really a no-brainer entry price. So if you used all your capital to get into the move originally, that's probably not, that would probably be like a mistake. You want to cost-based average into a leveraged position, unless it's a no-brainer, then you would cost-based average in 90%. But you'd have to be an expert trader. You'd have to have like over $1 million traded to be cocky enough to say that you could put in 90% of your capital and it's not going to go down. And even then, you would only put in 90% of your capital. So, I mean, this is a very well-respected line right here. This is a very well-respected line. These are areas that I would be looking at more so to accumulate. I mean, it's looking good, but as far as like stop losses, this would potentially be right here and right here. Let me draw it. So potentially you have this right here. This is your first top. Then this right here, your second top. if you were to come at this level right here, get rejected and go down lower, again, we would have this as support, but potentially this could be a double top playing out with your neckline being right here at this 618 level. So it's massively important that we hold support at the 618 level. And if we do, and it's like that idea that I always talk about. It's not, you set your limit order at 1581. It's you look at the area when the price action is potentially interacting with 1581, and if the price action ends up bouncing, then that would potentially be support. It's a confirmation of support, and potentially you could get involved in that area right there. Whereas the exact opposite, if it comes down to this level right here and it wicks below it and potentially breaks this area of potential support, then potentially this double top could play out. Now again, you can't just look at one pattern and base your entire assessment off of this double top idea that I've drawn right here, because you're looking at this uptrend, and essentially this double top idea would be going against this uptrend. So more so than anything, if you really want to buy, buying and cost-based averaging in wouldn't be a terrible idea. Not financial advice, but really, I would stay away with something like this if it did ended up breaking, especially this line right here. And we can draw that on. We go draw this right here, horizontal line. And potentially, if you were to break this line right here and come all the way down here, in the immediate short term, this would, this is your low right here, and then it would set a lower low, which would not be optimal. And then, you have this right here, which would almost be a triple bottom idea. No matter how you spin it, though, I like this idea a lot more on the more macro charts. It just wouldn't be optimal. It just wouldn't be optimal if we were to break this line right here to be entering in until we potentially found a bottom. Now, there's a lot of support at this area, and this is resistance, 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 come up top, support. So we could potentially hit this area again as support. It's not just a standalone wick. There is a lot of price action right here, so we could hit this area right here, hit this area right here, and bounce. Those are potential areas. But as I'm talking about potential, where to buy, where not to buy, where to long, where not to long, ideas that should give you an idea of the market sentiment as far as where you're taking your stop losses and putting them. Essentially, if you're on Forex, I'm not entirely concerned about what you're doing. I just want to know what your entry price is so that we can get a clear risk to reward ratio set up, because as a professional trader, that's something that you have to keep an eye on. You can't just long the market. You have to have clear risk to reward ratio set up. BRB. So yeah, I mean, if I know where your entry price is, I can set you up with the potential. Risk to reward ratio, because like I said, it all comes down to coming in with a game plan. Like, did you enter on this break right here, on this double bottom, and then you obviously got the measured move up right here, and then we could potentially come down and test this double bottom idea right here. So let me draw that out. Lots of ideas to look at when you get this consolidation. So bottom, neckline, breaks out, looks like it hits the measured move, comes down, consolidates. We could potentially come back down, hit this level right here before moving higher. Again, you want to test this area as support. Just because it comes down to this level doesn't mean anything. It just means the price is going down. What we want to see is it come down to this level, test it as support, move higher. All right, let's go down to the lower time frames. We'll look at 15. Take a look at we'll take a look at market cipher. It's starting to look better on the 15, but 15 is overall just right here. It's not looking, and this is decent. This is decent. You know, we're definitely getting those divergence ideas though. Consolidation, you know, you constantly see no matter how you spin it, no matter what time frame you're looking at, obviously the volume is trending down. On the 15, price action moved below this MA, this simple moving average. Could test this band right here, potentially bounce off of it, fractal idea. It looks like consolidation more than anything. We'll see how it interacts with this line. Look how perfectly it touches this line right here. You know, that's one of the Fibonacci areas that we were looking at. Perfectly bounces in between these levels. Looking good. Could fractal that idea. Could potentially hit this area right here, move higher. So things that I'm concerned about on the 15, money's not moving, money momentum oscillator. This green right here, it's trending down. So you start out right here. It's obviously trending down right here. I draw a little bit to show you like exactly, you know, obviously high, lower high, and then that line basically to clearly show that it's trending down. This yellow right here is like an indicator, a lead indicator of price. It's trending down, not looking too hot. You have this red dot right here, and then essentially some blue wave potentially calling a top. Now again, take it with a grain of salt because this is on the 5-minute or on the 15-minute chart. You know, it's not as substantial as, you know, something like the hourly chart, but you know, this is just something to keep an eye on. Potentially saying the price could go lower. We want to see a reversal, potentially idea. We want to see, you know, some blue. We want to see a green dot get printed on the 15. We go down to the 5-minute and look at that for a second. Let's see. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. We want to see a green dot. We want to see the blue come in. It doesn't look like it's there yet. You have this clear white, and you want to see this again. Take it with a grain of salt. It's on the 5-minute, but essentially, we want to see this. We want to see this white right here close off into this green dot to potentially show a start to a bottom. It doesn't look like we're seeing that yet. Late to the party, got in right where it is 17. 17 is not a bad spot to get in. 17 is not a bad spot to get in. It looks like it's right in the Bollinger Bands. Let's take a look. The higher time frames. Okay.
So, I'm gonna wrap up before then.
Okay. Let's see. $20. Then potentially. So what is that? That's 17. 17, so we'll do 15, so that'd be 5, 6, 50 right there. Perfect. Let's see. Damn. And what's that, a 3 to 1? Damn. This is like a lot why I talk about like going in from a position of power, because essentially I don't know how much buying power you have left. I don't know how much capital you have left to cost base average down your trade, but essentially, I mean, we could easily hit this level right here and bounce. We could easily hit this level and bounce. We could easily hit this level and bounce. But if you're going off of a stop loss idea, it just makes it difficult because you're essentially relying on something like this to get stopped out on. Yeah, this is kind of like why we stress so much, like entering in from a position of power. So, like, I didn't even, like we were talking about different areas to cost base average in. I don't even think I use such a little amount of my buying power to cost base average into this position, but essentially, no matter how you slice it, like, you basically have two options. You can put your stop loss on a 3-to-1 potentially on this trade, which is going to be the 2000, area is potentially, or you can speculate and say that it's going to go up to 28. But now you're talking about speculation. And so, I mean, you just put yourself in not a very good position. So essentially, you could speculate that the price is going to go all the way up to 28, which is another target. But in the immediate short term, that's a speculation. And then what is that, a 61? So potentially you'd have plenty of room to go off of that, and potentially you could have this whole wave idea. And then maybe get stopped out like right here. And that would give you an incredible risk to reward ratio, but that's speculation. That's speculating on future price action. Really, what we're looking at for the measured move on this is 20 or 2K. And if you have a 2K position, I mean, you can move your stop loss lower than this, but then where is it? So this is 17. So that would be, I mean, you could do like a 6 or something, but like that's just bad probabilities. Like like traditionally, like you want, your statistics, your probabilities, you want it to be like when you have a 3-to-1 stop loss risk to reward ratio, like when you have the potential to make 3 times what you're risking, essentially, like statistically, you can lose 3 trades, and then on the 4th trade you can make all your money back, essentially taking a 3-to-1 risk. That's why in professional trading, that's why you use stop losses and risk to reward ratios. Right here, it doesn't really, like, I don't know what kind of game plan you came in with, but there's nothing really. I mean, you could potentially put your stop loss like right here. At like 1574 potentially, and hope it doesn't get wicked. I mean, I would just feel terrible. I mean, if it was me personally, I'm just going to tell you, if it was me personally, and Ethereum's already looking good and everything. What is this? 7%. You're probably going to get liquidated like around here. I can't really tell you not to have a stop loss, but I mean, if it was me, again, not financial advice, but, and then also if you have any other money to cost base average down potentially to get a lower position, like if we start dropping to like this level right here, if you have any more buying power and you buy in, you add more to your long position, that would bring your average cost down from 1700 to potentially something like 16 or something lower. And then you could potentially put your stop loss below these levels right here, and even with a correction wave, I don't think that that would get hit. But yeah, this is kind of like, there's a reason like why we always say you long from a position of power. We don't just like FOMO into trades. There's no like, you know, um, like it's just you kind of put yourself in a bad situation, and it's just going to be a little bit harder to work with, essentially, because like it's when you break down like trading and all that, it's all like strategic, like probabilities and whatnot, and so like risk to rewards and all that stuff. And again, it's just a bad situation that you're in right now. But hopefully that helps you. I'll be on later. Just sub to the channel, turn on post notifications, and then I am extremely strategic and conservative with my trades. I've never lost money. I've traded over $390,000 in the last few months just trading this bull market. And a lot of that has to come down to being conservative. A lot of that has to come down to I'm not trading every single second. I'm not, I'm not chasing pumps. I'm not, doing all this stuff. So I would just recommend you follow the channel, and as you get better, maybe if you want to make the risk, if you want to have the tighter stop losses, that's fine. But like, um, yeah, that's kind of all I can say. Not financial advice, but that's probably just the best advice I could give you. Yeah, I would say something like that. Maybe I would go lower the better. I just don't know how much capital you're putting up, and then obviously that's relative, like how much that is like to you, because like 5,000 to me, like I made that the other day, but 5,000 to you might be your entire life savings. So, um, I like I said, you just put yourself in like a bad position. So my best recommendation is just to sub to the channel, so that we can help you out potentially on some next opportunities. Because I was talking about Cardano. Cardano's been exploding. You would have gotten that move. You would have been making crazy money. We allocated most of our position to Ethereum. That was doing extremely well. So